The crown is cracking, but I still gotta ask, what does it mean to be African in a world that still sees your life as negotiable? To be born in a nation where your vote is just theater, your president rules like a king, and your cries are answered with rubber bullets and body bags. This is not a Netflix drama. This is Togo in 2025. For over 5 decades, one family has ruled this land like a private kingdom. The father held power for 38 years. The son has now clung onto it for 20 more. And when the people say enough, what does the regime do? It unleashes violence on its own youth. Togo is not falling. Togo is rising, because when a system is built on silence, even a whisper becomes thunder. Now, let's rewind the clock, okay? Togo gained independence from France in 1960. A chance at sovereignty, a blank slate. But 3 years later, the dream was hijacked. Togo's first president, a pan-African visionary, was assassinated. His vision erased. His blood still unanswered for. And who filled the vacuum? A man named Iyadema Nsimbe, a military strongman backed by colonial whispers. He seized power in 1967 and ruled with an iron fist for nearly 4 decades. When he died in 2005, Togo had a choice: a peaceful transition or a royal inheritance. The military made sure the crown stayed in the family. His son Faure took over, and for 20 more years he ruled, right, not by trust but by force. And now he's changed the rules again. He's abolished direct elections and created a new unelected post, crowned himself president of the Council of Ministers. No term limits, no elections, no shame. This is not governance, it's monarchy in disguise. Lome is not silent, and it's roaring, right? You young people, many born after Faure took power, are flooding the streets. They are tired of watching a dynasty masquerade as democracy. They are tired of being ruled by bloodlines instead of ballots. But what has this courage cost them? At least 7 confirmed deaths, including 2 teenagers found floating in a lagoon. Security forces going door to door, beating civilians with batons, looting homes, destroying property, and shutting down independent media. They're also banning protests and arresting without cause. This is not a crackdown. This is political war on the very people you're sworn to protect. And still the youth rise, because when you've known only one leader your entire life, rebellion is not treason, it's self-defense. On paper, Togo's economy is booming, right? GDP rising, inflation low, investments flowing. But beneath the graph lies a different truth. Youth unemployment near 34%, 1 in 5 people living under $1.90 a day, and corruption baked into every institution. Graduates can't find jobs. Farmers still starve after harvest, and civil servants go months without pay while ministers build mansions. This is elite enrichment. So when you hear Togo is stable, ask stable for who? Because for the woman selling oranges by the roadside, nothing has changed. For the graduate driving a motorcycle taxi, nothing has changed. For the teenager dodging bullets for speaking truth, everything has changed. Now, let me ask you, where is ECOWAS? Where is the African Union? These institutions were created to protect democracy, to stop coups, to defend the people. But when a president rewrites the constitution to stay in power, where are they? Faure has ruled for over 20 years. He inherited the presidency, rewrote the rules, changed the structure, crowned himself ruler for life. And how did ECOWAS react or respond? They made him chairman. Let that sink in. They made him chairman. The man crushing democracy in his own country is now mediating conflicts in others. He's not punished, he's promoted. This is not oversight, okay? This is betrayal. You cannot claim to be the guardian of democracy and reward those who destroy it. The silence is no longer just silence, it's complicity. Togo is not the exception, it's the alarm bell. We are watching a pattern of quiet authoritarianism creeping across the continent, right? Constitutions rewritten, term limits scraped, dynasties disguised as democracies, right? right? From Guinea to Cote d'Ivoire, from Congo to Cameroon, and yes, even in the East, protests rage in Kenya and Sudan. We are not in a crisis of politics. We are in a crisis of dignity. If Africa's future belongs to the youth, why is power chained to the past? And if our institutions won't defend the people, then the people must become the institution. Because let me be clear, if we don't speak when Togo burns, we will burn next. The fire is already here. Togo is not just another African country in crisis. Togo is a mirror. It shows us what happens when silence is mistaken for peace, when corruption wears a suit, and when kings call themselves presidents. But it also shows us something else. The people are not asleep. The youth are not afraid. They are rewriting the story, not with permission, but with purpose. So now I turn to you. What will it take for our African institutions to serve us, right? Not the thrones. What must we build if the old is too broken to fix it? Let's talk, right? Let's organize. Let's build something new. And above all else, don't be silent, okay? So tell me, how long can one family rule a country before it stops being a nation and becomes a prison? Togo has bled for 60 years under the same dynasty, from father to silent, from father to son to silence. But the people have risen, not with tanks, not with guns, but with courage, with footsteps, with fire in their voices. And what they face in return? Well, rubber bullets, midnight raids, floating bodies. This isn't just about elections. This is about dignity, about power stolen, dreams buried, and futures delayed. And let me be clear, what's happening in Togo is not just a local tragedy. It's a continental warning. Because today, it's Lomé, right? Tomorrow, it could be Lusaka. It could be Accra. It could be Yaoundé. It could even be Nairobi. So now I ask you, my people, my brothers and sisters, my grandparents, my aunties and uncles, how long will we watch leaders stay in power until their grandchildren inherit the seat and still call it democracy? How many more bodies must wash up in lagoons before we stop waiting for press statements? How many constitutions must be torn and rewritten before we realize that the real constitution is the will of the people? Togo is not just a country in crisis. Togo is a mirror, and that reflection looks like all of us. Because when one African nation falls to dictatorship disguised as law, it weakens the spine of the entire continent. And I don't care if you live in Nairobi or Lagos or Banjul or Johannesburg. If you stay silent today, your silence will be used against you tomorrow. Your silence will be used against you tomorrow. So I say this with no apology, right? We must rise, and we must rise now. If you stay silent, if you are a student, speak. If you are a farmer, teach your children what freedom smells like. If you're in the diaspora, don't just send money. Send truth, send outrage, send pressure. And if you're an artist, paint the pain, paint the courage, the fire. If you're in the streets of Lomé, know this, you are not alone. Share this video until it breaks the walls of comfort. Subscribe not just to this channel, but to the movement of minds waking up across the continent. Leave a comment, not for likes, right? But to speak life into your brothers and sisters still fighting. Because the story of Togo is not over yet. It's being rewritten right now in the streets, in our voices, and in this very moment. History is watching. Will you be remembered for silence, or will you be remembered for standing? Subscribe, share this, be the fire, because in this Africa, no voice must go unheard.